first day of school, she told her children a lie. What was the lie? Like most teachers do, she told the children that she loved them all the same. Is it true? It's true. It's true. You say that, or it's true? You tell the students that you love them the same. That is true. But do you love them the same? No. I love honest. She looked at her students and told them that she loved them all the same. But that simply was not true, because there in the front row, slumped in his seat, was a little boy named Stoddard. Mrs. Thompson had watched Teddy the year before and noticed that he did not play well with other children. His clothes were messy, and they constantly needed a bath. Teddy could be unpleasant at times. It got to the point where Mrs. Thompson would take delight in marking his papers with a broad red pen, X, finally putting a big F on the top of his papers. At the end of the school, at the school where Mrs. Thompson taught, she was required to review each child's past records. She put Teddy's off till last. When she finally reviewed his file, she was in for surprise. Teddy, first grade teacher wrote, Teddy is a bright child with the readiest laugh. He does his work neatly and has good manners. He is a joy to be around. His second grade teacher wrote, Teddy is an excellent student and well liked by his classmates, but he is troubled because his mother has a terminal illness, and life at home must be a struggle. His third grade teacher wrote, his mother's death has been hard on him. He tries to do his best, but his father don't show much interest. His home life soon will affect him if steps are not taken. Teddy's fourth grade teacher wrote, Teddy is withdrawn and doesn't show much interest in school. He doesn't have many friends, and sometimes he even sleeps in class. By now, Mrs. Thompson realized the problem, and she was ashamed of herself. She felt even worse when her students brought her Christmas presents wrapped in beautiful ribbons and bright paper, except for Teddy. His present was a clumsily wrapped in heavy brown paper that he got from a grocery bag. Mrs. Thompson took pains to open it in the middle of other parents. Some of the children started to laugh when she found a rhinestone bracelet with some of the stones missing and a bottle that was water full of perfume. But she stifled the children's laughter when she explained how pretty the bracelet was, while putting it on and then dabbling some of the perfume on her wrist. Teddy Stoddard stayed after school that day, just long enough to say, Mrs. Thompson, today you smell just like my mom used to. After the children left, she cried for at least an hour. On this very day, she quit teaching, she quit reading, she quit writing, she quit teaching arithmetic, and instead she started teaching children. Mrs. Thompson began to pay close attention to Teddy as she worked with him. As time went on, his mind seemed to come alive. The more she encouraged him, the faster he responded. By the end of the year, Teddy had become one of the smartest children in the class. Despite her lie, he had become one of her teacher's pets. A year later, she found a note under the door from Teddy telling her that she was the best teacher he had ever had in his world. 6 years passed by, and to her surprise, another note came. What did he say this time? He wrote that he had finished high school, third in his class, and that she was still the best teacher that he had ever had in his whole life. 4 years later, another letter came saying that while things had been tough at times, he stayed in school and stuck with it, and that he had graduated from college with the highest of honors. He assured Mrs. Thompson that she was still the very best and favorite teacher he had ever had in his whole life. 4 more years passed, And yet another letter came. This time, he explained that after he got his bachelor's degree, he had decided to go a little further, assuring her that she was still the best and favorite teacher he had ever had. This letter was signed, Stoddard, medical doctor, MD. The story doesn't end there. There was one final letter that spring. Teddy said that he had met this girl and that he was going to be married. He explained that his father had died a couple years ago, and he was wondering if Mrs. Thompson might agree to sit in the place at his wedding that was usually reserved for the mother of the groom. Of course, Mrs. Thompson did. She wore that bracelet, the one with several rhinestones missing. She also made sure she was wearing the perfume that Teddy remembered the mother wearing on the last day together. After the wedding, they hugged each other as Dr. Teddy Stoddard whispered in Mrs. Thompson's ear, "Thank you so much for making me feel important and showing me that I could make a difference." Mrs. Thompson, with tears in her eyes, whispered back, "Teddy, you have it all wrong. You are the one who taught me that I could make a difference. I did not know how to teach until I met you." Do you teach English, maths, social studies, science? So that is our first S. That is our first S, which is service. Do you teach maths, social studies, or do you teach children? And our second S is solution. We said it? Let me tell you, I've dealt with so many people. And there are some people who have solutions for every problem. As people who work in the industry that you work, as teachers, as people who work in a school, we need to be problem, not problem creators. Sindio? This world, ukitoka tu hapa nje, there are so many problems. Sindio? They say in the world we are living in today, there are only three options. You are either in a problem, out of a problem, or headed towards a problem. Turudie hiyo. You are either in a problem, or out of a problem, or headed towards a problem. So which one? Wewe ni mgani? Kwa ofisi uko na the penthouse, ndio? Ofisi kubwa. Does not mean that wewe ndio uko na all the solutions, ndio? Jack Welch alikuwa CEO wa General Electric huko USA. From 1990s or 1980s to early 2000, he always won the award of the best CEO. And I read his book. It was Jack Welch's Secrets, straight from the gut. And he says one of the things that I learned from it is that he used to bring wafanyikazi wake. They used to have, like, this is we have town meetings. There's a day, this Friday, we will sit down and we will listen to the guards. We will listen to the sweep, mmoja ametuambia hapa mimi I do hospitality. Tupigie makofi. Si ndio? Hiyo ni kazi unafanya kazi, si ndio? Kwa hivyo tusikue tunadharau. Kwanza inatuonyesha usidharau mtu mwenye ako chini yako. Usidharau mtu ako chini yako. He might have, or she might have, a solution to a problem that is a pain in the whole organization. So let's be problem solvers. And because we are teachers, we work in a school, I was reading a book called Outliers. The Outliers is a very nice book. And in this, they have a story of a lady. Unajua sisi in Africa, in Kenya hapa hivi, it's very rare we have the opportunity ama the luxury of changing a career. Kwa mwalimu uko 40 years, huwezi kusema mimi tena nataka kuwa doctor. Ni ngumu sana, si ndio? But in the West Country, so this lady, she was working in the Navy, but she was feeling inside, I don't like this job. So what did she do? Aliacha kazi, akaenda akajifunza kwa, akaenda akachukua course to be a teacher. And she worked as a teacher for some time. Akasoma, and then teaching practice, she was taken in the slums in the US, in the slums. Unajua wakati anatoka, wakati anaingia kuna mwalimu alikuwa anatoka, amekaa pale, ameshindwa kumaliza 3 weeks. Kamwambia hapa sidhani kama utamaliza mwezi. Kamwambia hebu ni explainie what is it. Kamwambia hapa wanafunzi wazazi wao ni watu wa drugs, hawasikii. Hapa unaweza sikia anytime kuna gangs, watu wana bullets are flying. But yeye akaenda, sema mimi nimeenda Iraq, nimeenda wapi, nimepigana kwa war front, let me see. Akaenda, the first week it was chaotic. Amejaribu. So then aka come up na in the habit of being a problem solver, she came up with an idea. Akasema, hao wanafunzi, what can I do for them? Akafikiria, akakuja akawaambia, akabet na wao. Akawaambia when wanampatia zile when she's marking the papers, she made sure she memorized all their names. Then she made a bet. She told them, if I tell you each and every one of your names, the first and the second name, will you do what I tell you? Kuna wewe unatupima wewe, si ndio? Of course wakisema tunaona tupima wao wazungu.
You are measuring us.
Nyinyi mmesoma. Unajua? I would not say, in all my life, I would not come up with you are measuring us, but you guys are learning. And you're working in international schools, so I give it to you. So akasema wao unafanya nini? Unatupima, you are measuring us. And then they went ahead with the bet, and the teacher did just that. Akamwambia, wewe unaitwa fulani, wewe unaitwa fulani, and they were like, wow, wakashangaa. No one has ever done anything to me, kitu kama hii for me. And then akamwambia, what I want you to do, not astaki mambo mingi. In the next 2 weeks, I want you to sit down and learn. And the kids started learning, and they understood, si tulikuwa tunafikiria hii kitu ni ngumu, kumbe si ndio tulikuwa tunasoma. And then wakaendelea hivyo. To make the long story short in the interest of time, history ikikuja kuisha, one of the students alikuwa na huko kwa gangs, akona deni ya anadaiwa $100. Akakuja kwa mwalimu akilia, because akienda pale anaweza uawa, anything can happen. The teacher akaingia kwa mfuko, akatoa $100 akampatia, akaenda akalipa, kijana akakuja akaendelea kusoma. When this kid was graduating, before they graduated, the teacher asked, right, your favorite person or the most important person in your life. Kila mwanafunzi akaandika, some wrote walimu mzazi na nini. Huyu kijana akaandika mzazi. On the day of graduation akipatiwa honors zake, akasimama akasema, naweza ongea kidogo. Sema, teacher, you asked me for the most important person in my life and I lied. I've never had an important person in my life until you came. Some of these kids, and it's different. Some of these kids, I was fortunate to do a leadership training, prefect training for your kids, and I saw them. They come from well-to-do families. But just because they are well-to-do does not mean their life is well-to-do. See, there might be going something that where as a teacher, you might be the problem solver. There's something they cannot share with their parents at home. I was speaking in one of the international schools around, and I gave them an example. One day, I'm walking home, and I'm talking with a friend of mine, and just as we are talking, a lady comes, she has a kid on the back. On one side there's a stone, on the other side, on the right side there's a garbage pile. And then she comes, she unties the knot, she puts the kid on the stone, and she goes to scavenge. I don't know if you understand scavenging. I grew up in the slums. So I've eaten from the garbage, I know. You're looking at me, I've eaten from the garbage pit. So I know what it means. So this lady, she went there, and whenever she found some food, she put it aside. Whenever she found a bottle she could sell for recycling, she put it aside. And I asked this friend of mine, because this lady did not look like a chokora, sweet urchin. I asked, what is this lady doing? And the friend told me, hii ndio kazi yake. Na amekuwa akifanya hii kazi kwa muda mrefu. Sometimes anakuja anakosa. The kid was a young girl. the same age as my daughter. I could not stand there. I started tearing up and I walked away. Because it reminded me, as a young person, I ate from the garbage. So I was telling this story in one of the international schools, and I said, maybe I spoke to the kids, I was telling them how their parents struggle to put food on their table. And I told them, I made a mistake, I told them, maybe you don't cope, you don't understand because your parents are well-to-do. Before I finished, the teacher interjected and said, no, don't tell them that. These kids, said let me give you an example. Said their parents come to my office crying. He told me, when war broke out in Somalia in 1991, early 90s, one of the parents left Somalia with nothing. But the Somalis and the Muslims, they have a shuka. You know the shuka? It's called ma'awais. The father left Somalia with nothing but their ma'awais and a t-shirt only, and came to the Dadaab refugee camp in Kenya. And from there, he got a chance to go to the US. And in the US, he works three jobs as a waiter, as a watchman, as a truck driver. And when he gets the money, he sends the money so that the kids can have a good life in Kenya. They think the parents are millionaires. And they come to school, they don't listen. They are indisciplined. So the parent came to me, literally a man crying, remembering where he's from. So I'm sharing this with you. Because some of the kids that you teach, they are going through battles that are even very different from our own. And you could be the problem solvers for the next generation. And the third point we say, sacrifice. I'm trying to cut them short because I know tunataka tuende pale nje pia tujibane. Si ndio? Sacrifice. Charles Plumb was an American pilot. He unaitwaje kuendesha ndege na kizungu sasa hivi? He piloted. He flew. Yeah. Sasa ndio huyu anajua sasa. He flew the jets, the fighter jets. So one day in Vietnam, the Vietnamese war. So one day, the jet, it was gunned down. And yeye, akaenda chini, imprisoned him for 6 years and they tortured him a lot. Wakati walisikizana, Charles Plumb akaachiliwa. And when he went back to USA, he was a hero. Kenya wanasemanga show us your ways, si ndio? Ukiona umeendelea kidogo wanakuambia Saumu show us your ways. Niko napenda tu example. So they used to invite Charles Plumb. Up to now, he goes to conventions, to conferences, and he speaks about the bravery, about what he endured in the Vietnamese prison. So for years he spoke and he was a national hero. Then one day akikuwa amekaa kwa hoteli anakula lunch yake, a guy came na akamsalimia, tuseme tusi. Akamsalimia, "You are Charles Plumb?" Sema, "Yes." Kamwambia, "Uliendesha ndege fulani fulani," akampatia mpaka namba. Kamuuliza, "On this date, ndege yako ilipigwa risasi na ukaanguka." Akampatia exact. Charles Plumb akasimama akamwambia, "Who are you?" Because I tell this story but I've never given those details. The guy akamwambia, "I am the person who packed your parachute." I'm the person who packed your parachute. What does that mean? On face value, maybe it was yellow. Lakini, listen, if this guy had not packed the parachute, Charles Plumb would not be alive. Would not have been alive. And so Charles Plumb, baadaye anapeana story anasema, that day I did not sleep. Because I thought, I was thinking, because this guy, and alimwambia, before Wachana akamwambia, "I've looked for you for so many years." But as he went to sleep, he was there akitafuta usingizi anafikiria, this guy alikuwa anakaaje? How did he look in uniform? How many days did I pass him without even saying good morning or thank you? On the other hand, this guy, he did what he had to do and he sacrificed. Sacrifice is doing what you have to do, even when no one is clapping for you, even when no one notices. Sindio? You say, judge a man's character by what he does. But to judge the true character of a man is what he does when no one is watching. So we have to sacrifice. And so most of the time, I know from our faces, the way we are listening, we have done things even for our spouses at work. I've worked for people that I gave my all and they did not notice. But one thing, I gave my all. And that, what I gave, took me a step further. And that's why I'm here today and I'm able to relate with you. Woo, some of us, you mean you're deeper? Some of us, we don't go far in life, or we don't go further because we are stuck. And we are stuck with, what we are stuck with is what things people have done for us. Sindio? We are nilisema, we are nilifanya hivi, we are sindio? We want to get even, we rather get even than get ahead. Umenielewa? Ku get even ni ku revenge, sindio? Amenifanyia hivi pia mimi nitamfanyia. It's better to get ahead than get even. They say, Frank Sinatra said, the best revenge is massive success.